Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome to episode 116. It's May 27th, and it's Memorial Day, and we want to make sure we honor those that have lost their lives while serving our country. It's something very personal for me. I know my family would not be here, and I would not have all the wonderful things that I have for myself, for my family, and my friends. So thank you to all those that are serving, as well as, again, honor those that have lost their lives.
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's get into what we've done recently. I have not done car stuff outside of working on the 996, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. This full weekend, I was dance dad.
All right, a great title.
So, yeah, we went down to Northern Virginia, about an hour and a half commute during the weekend for Jonah's dance competitions, which I'm very proud. He in hip hop, they scored top score out of the whole competition. So
wow,
he's taking it pretty serious.
Pretty
and
cool.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be a dance dad, but it's
Is that an Olympic sport yet?
I think it's in the
What they have that thing with the flags, or
I
something
think,
like that.
I
Isn't
think
that an Olympic
hip
sport?
hop is
Yeah.
in the
If
Olympics.
it's not,
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. So, anyways, but you guys, I know, did some car stuff. You want to share that?
It was a pretty crappy weekend.
It was.
I mean, we're getting rain, which is always good, but we get too much of it, and it's always falling on the weekends. But Sunday was very nice in Maryland, and my region did one of his tours again. So we had about a 2.5-hour tour around the Annapolis Bay Area, about 50 cars maybe, Porsches, one guy of an Aston Martin. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Took the 964 out since I went solo because the wife and kids were out in New York City. I decided
Single Manny.
Usually I'm a passenger Manny because my wife gets car sick, so we take the Boxster. She drives, but this time
I don't think she gets car sick. I just think she doesn't like the way you drive.
No, she hates my driving.
She loves it when I drive.
Oh yeah, because you're driving Miss Daisy.
Was it our local friend Rich that said it's been really cruel here in Maryland because every weekend for the, past 4 or 5, it's been soggy, rainy, and to put insult to injury, during the week while we're all at work, it's been perfect weather.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
truth.
so Saturday we had cars and coffee. Didn't happen because it was raining, but I still had coffee and breakfast with Will and Carl. We talked cars for 2.5 hours, and then Sunday, my friend Rich texted me and said some car guys are getting together at the coffee shop. So did another 2 hours of solving the world's car problems over coffee.
I forgot to mention that Rob Sass is at the table today.
Well,
Yeah, for those who aren't watching, I guess, right?
no
Yeah.
offense. Fu.
Glad to have you back, and I see that you brought the 996 now.
I did. Yeah.
How's it running?
Put another just fine. Knock on wood. I put
Where's-
another
And where's Ethan?
Where's Ethan at?
sleeping. Right?
Knocked out on the
Yeah,
floor.
'cause-
Okay.
If he's not with you, he's going to get very anxious.
His legs are twitching.
Yeah. Oh, he's dreaming.
Yeah.
REM sleep.
Yeah. No. Put another 800 or 900 miles on it.
Nice. And
So-
that's been your kind of day. Are you driving the Cayenne more, or are you driving the 996 more?
I've been driving the 996 more in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, 6.1. Honestly, Ethan prefers the 996.
Smart dog.
Yeah. So, I mean, he likes being able to just kind of, sit in the back and rest his head on my shoulder, whatever. So,
Do you fold the seats down or no?
yeah, fold the seats
hope
down.
so.
To make it flat?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And he fits in there just fine.
Damon, did you end up getting to autocross in the rain or no?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
you did?
So it was definitely rainy in the early morning. And I'll back up a little bit. I just got the car on the road, the Cayman, and then last week had TPC install a torque biasing differential, which is a type of limited slip differential. And I was excited to autocross it. And the rain, I thought, would be a great test. I wouldn't have to think too hard about tire choice. Just go with the Michelin PS4S, which are great tires for the street and good in the rain. But where it said 90% rain until 3 p.m. or so the night before, what ended up happening was the forecast changed, and by the end of the first of 3 run groups, the rain had pretty much stopped, and the course was dry enough for all those super sticky 200 treadwear tires. So I wish I had brought in the Kumos, but I'm still happy in some ways I had the Michelins on, because I didn't have to focus so much about, I have to be first. I kind of already knew it's not going to, like, I'm not going to be as competitive maybe as I would with no rain in the weather forecast. But it was still quick. I got 14th overall, which I thought was great. The car handles amazing. It still handles almost, there we go. That's the first amazing of the podcast. But it handles so much like it did before the diff that if you didn't know it was there, you might not guess that it's there, because it's not a limited slip differential, which if you're in a parking lot, take a tight U-turn, the wheels bind up because it's trying not to slip. It's pretty much an open diff until one wheel starts slipping and then the other one comes into play. So it feels a lot like it did. But when I'm on the power, it will, I had to do a burnout for my first run. It was damp. It'll spin both wheels just perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I feel like going into fast corners, I could have braked a little bit earlier and leaned on the throttle a little bit more than I did, because I kept pulling it back. So there's like an invisible hand that's sort of just helping me around the corner.
But does it want to, because under power in a corner and both wheels are turning, does the car push more now?
It's hard to know, especially on the staggered street setup that I have. So it's not a direct comparison with my normal autocross setup. I don't want to say it really doesn't understeer all that much more, if at all. Because again, it's not tying the wheels together.
You have adjustable sway bars there, right?
I do, yeah.
So that's all part of the...
well, I have the sway bar and roll bars where I want them right now, for the rear at least. I don't know. I can't go any stiffer, unfortunately. And the up front, if I go softer, that'll improve turn-in, but not the mid-corner quite as much. So we'll see what I do there. But it handled great. The diff does exactly what I want it to do, and I also go up my driveway now with no wheel spin. It's gravel at the bottom, so nice. I know it's working.
So overall, the car back together, running strong.
Yeah, running strong.
Happy.
I'm very happy. And then yesterday, I went and I was invited to the previous owner, a get-together he had. And
previous owner of your car?
Of my car, yeah. So we've maintained, a correspondence and friendship since I bought it. And he was opening up a little model car museum. He's retired, has made some life changes, downsized a bit, and he didn't know what he wanted to do with his car collection, model car, and he was going to sell them.
How many model cars?
I'd probably say a couple hundred, if not more. And
so how does this compare to VU?
I was about to say,
So it's not the same type of collection. It's not the same type of collection. Okay. There's a lot of stuff. I'll throw some pictures up here in post-production, but yeah.
So is it at his house?
It's at a friend's guest house. So he has a friend with a large property and a guest house that wasn't being used, and the top floor is a model car collection.
And is it open to the public, or is it just
sort of? So if you get invited to a get-together, and so I'm sure friends of the property owner and all that. But
Manny,
this is your future.
This is our future. We're gonna have to find a place to turn ours, because we like. I know
after our wives divorced us, we need to share a house.
I'm sure they would be happy, actually.
I've got 500 just in 118.
I know. Right? Put him somewhere up there. Yeah,
you got a problem.
Well, I'm glad to see that my model car collection has found a nice home.
Yes.
Exactly.
Cool.
So it was nice. I got to meet his family and his grandchildren and children and all that, and it was kind of funny because they all were. Well, first of all, he must have, for selling it to me for what he did. I'm sure he wishes he asked a little bit more money, but then all the other grandkids and kids were telling me, oh yeah, we thought that, oh yeah, Bob, I wonder which kid he's going to give the car to, and then he goes and sells it to some guy.
Well, it's got to be gratifying.
Under their breath,
but they're happy,
that's the dude that stole the car from Grandpa,
and that's what he kept saying. Yeah, this is Damon. He stole the car from me.
At least you're not the guy who stole the car from Grandpa and then flipped it a month later.
Hey, I paid him asking. I paid him asking. Yeah. So and he has first dibs. If I ever sell the car,
so did he get into another Porsche, or did he just get out of?
No, he just got out. I don't think it's the most important thing to him at this point in life, but he clearly loves the car and had some sort of second thoughts about it, I think.
I'm sure it's cool for him to see the car being used and enjoyed, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's happy. He's followed along.
that's the type of person you hope will take care of your baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't happen every time you buy a car, but every once in a while,
cool.
a friendship is formed.
Yeah.
So
And what is it with 987 Caymans? We were literally, just before we went live here, looking through the mart and looking at a speed yellow 987 Cayman. They're so appealing. I really, really like. If I didn't need the back seat, I would have one. But every time your car is
Hey,
here, I
Manny,
admire
does
it.
it sound like he's slowly talking himself
Oh
into
my
another
God.
car
It's
purchase?
so easy for him. The
Well-
color. He stops at the color.
I have dibs on Ron's speed yellow.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, do
I
you?
think I do. But no, I
Mr.
just-
Gordon, would you like to chime in here?
yeah, like, comment,
Yeah,
subscribe.
but do you have dibs what you think the asking price is?
We've never actually gotten that far.
Oh, yeah, that's the key right there, huh?
Yeah, there are some people that when you see or hear about selling a car that you can buy with confidence, and Ron Gordon's car obviously would be one, and the one that we found on PCA's Mart, that is Peter Calhoun's car, which is a past dear
06
friend
Cayman
sponsor. Oh, he's still a dear friend, but he used to be a sponsor. He was with Michelin and BF Goodwrench, so definitely a car person.
Right.
Would buy a car.
If
from
nobody
him in a
here at
heartbeat.
this table can buy that speed yellow Cayman S, somebody who's listening to this should.
We got to do it in a week because the podcast comes out.
you got
Yeah, right.
buy the car from
If it's not gone by then.
Yeah. So I told you guys that we've been looking for a car for Justine. We finally found one, thankfully nearby. It's a 2021 RAV4 Adventure, which is the higher trim model and so on and so forth. But it wasn't at a Toyota dealership. It was at a Chevrolet dealership. And I hate to say this, and I'm not going to name the dealer name, but the dealer experience there was not stellar. And it seemed like people didn't even want to be there. And the salesperson I had was good, but everybody else, man, like when you go to a Porsche, at least all the Porsche dealers I've been to, it's, you can say what you want about pricing and this, that, and the other, but it's always a pleasant experience. It's clean, nicely, organized, very approachable people. This was, I had to look around, like, does anybody want to sell a car, or is anyone going to come help us? And then when you go to service, it's like, I don't even know where to go. There's doors that don't work. And I'm like, man, this is a terrible state of affair. Ugh.
And then make things worse is the add-ons. They want to add on all this stuff like ceramic coating and all this stuff that was, back from the 80s, I think, these schemes to make more money. And they think nothing of it. And I think it's not just you. I just read recently on our region chat about this. Someone had experience trying to buy a truck. That is so frustrating.
It really is.
Because the dealers are going to, what's going to happen is eventually the dealers are going to be in a position where they have plenty of inventory. They want people to buy cars from them, and they're going to be wondering why there's no loyalty. And it's because they're looking for the quick buck.
Yeah.
And I hate to generalize, but you can generalize with dealers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they have a terrible reputation in the U.S. It's a horrendous experience, and you would think that they would want to improve upon it, but it's
So her car is still under a factory warranty, but also has like the Chevrolet, because they sold it like 30-day, 1,000-mile warranty anyways. So a common thing with the tailgates on a RAV4 is there's a seal that sometimes can slip or whatever, and then water goes down into back tailgate, and then it goes down into the spare tire well. So I was cleaning the car, and I could just tell that there was water down there after we had like all that crazy rain. So I'm like, oh, do I fix it myself, or do I send it to them and do it under warranty, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, well, she just paid a lot of money. Let's let them do it. So I'm trying to be like, I don't want to be that guy going into a dealership saying I know everything, but I'm pretty sure I know why it's leaking. So I said, here's where the water's coming in. It's probably the seal. If you guys take a look at it, just seal it back up, or do whatever you got to do. Like, it's a pretty simple job. Pop the panel, find the seal, buy the seal, or, fix it, right? So I give you a full day. I'll drop it off early in the morning. Please be done by the afternoon. I get it at like 5 p.m. and I'm not kidding you. The mechanic used black RTV, which I get. That is a plausible repair. I get it. You can, instead of buying the right seal, you decide to use our RTV. Fine. But could you please at least not have the RTV
Smeared all over.
Smeared all over the exterior of the car.
Wow.
And then the rag that he was using to wipe it down was still on top of the car when I picked up the car.
Who did this?
And I'm just like,
Was this the Toyota dealer that did it under warranty?
Chevy
or
dealer.
the selling
it
Chevy.
was a selling Chevy dealer.
Oh, okay. Well,
So-
yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay.
But again, take pride in your work, right? I mean, it's not that hard of a job. And so I go to pick up the car. The service person wasn't even there. I was like, just give me the keys. I'll get the car. And then I see all the crap all over the tailgate. I'm like, I'll just take it home and take care of myself. And I'm not like upset, but I'm just like, I can't believe there's people out there that just don't take pride in their work. So I go and I spend like half an hour cleaning out all the crevices and looking at all the seals, making sure they didn't break the tabs. And the good news is whatever they did worked. Like I haven't popped the panel because I'm sure there's probably 5 pounds of RTV under to the panel, but it works. It's not leaking. So I'm like, you know what? If I was a manager, I probably would want to know that one of my service person was not taking
Good care. Yeah,
of their
right.
customers. So of course I'm like, I write the service manager. I took photos of everything that was like smeared and whatever. Not even a freaking response back.
Yeah, they don't care.
I'm like,
Why am I not
and I even said it nicely. I said, thank you for getting the car done in a day. I appreciate it. Thought you would want to know how I received the car. And I had like 5 pictures of stuff smeared everywhere. You might want to talk to the technician and say, hey, when you're delivering the car, clean it up. Like I was just like nice about it. I wasn't like how some people can be mean.
Yeah.
I
Like,
want to
was
speak to the manager.
Yeah, no, I was trying to help the guy. Like I'm trying to help the manager, help the technician person. You would think he would say, "Oh, thank you for writing us. We'll take care of it." Without nothing.
Yeah.
Now here's the sad part. It didn't come with the second key, so I need to bring the car back to get the second key. And I'm dreading it. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what a pain. Like that's a poor state. Like,
Well, this is why Lexus and Porsche,
yeah.
they get such high ratings, and because service is part of the rating system for.
And I got the survey. So I got the survey in the email. I haven't responded to it yet because I'm not
But think
sure.
how much Porsche dealers freak out when they get a negative survey.
Oh, yeah.
Because it can affect them. Because Porsche in Atlanta will come down on them and withhold allocations if their customer level or customer service level isn't at a certain level that they require. When my daughter has a Infiniti we bought from the original owner, a friend of mine, but it was 15 years old, and the airbag had that. Remember the airbags that they all
recall.
replaced, you had a recall.
Takata recall.
So we took it in, and the guy and the dash had always been like peeling apart. And when we bought it, our friend said, "Yeah, it's a problem evidently on these Infinities." Yeah, no problem. We got it really cheap, and we didn't really care about
live with it.
But the service manager saw the dash and said, "I think there's a recall in your dash too." And without us even prompting it, we just went in for the airbag.
Oh,
They replaced the dash,
the whole dash.
the whole dash.
Super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good customer service.
And they replaced other parts because the dash had warped, and they were like, "Well, it's not going to fit, so we need to replace this and this and this too, all under warranty."
Nice.
And even offered a loaner.
Yeah.
We weren't regular customers; we got a service at independent. But I thought that's the kind of service. People say, "Well,
That's
if I
funny
buy
you
a
talk
new
about
car, I'll
the
go
loaner.
back to that dealer."
Because I said the reason we're buying this car is my daughter's daily driver, and I told the dealer, it's like, so if we drop it off, are you going to give us a loaner? And they said they didn't have a loaner, but they would provide they'll order a lift to get you back to where you're going. I'm like, okay, at least that's kind of something. But yeah, what a disappointment. What a disappointment. And I hope that is not more commonplace in the auto industry because that's,
I'm sure
that's
it
a
is.
sad- That's a sad
I'm sure it is.
sad state. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to digress. More happy news from my side is we are nearing the end of the tunnel, seeing the light. The motor is back in the 996, and
Went in pretty
pretty
seamlessly.
easily.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, it went seamlessly because I think we were very smart in taking our time. Thankfully, we have a table for the engine. Thankfully, we have access to the 2-post lift here at the office.
and we had a rosary for some prayers.
For those of you that, and Damon, all the stuff that you've done to your car in your garage on quick jacks and on your back, bro, that is like, I don't even know how you did that. Like, it hurts me just thinking about that. But because of what we had, we took our time and just, millimeter by millimeter lowered it. And we were watching all sides, and it just went in.
Yeah. Pay
Just
attention
about.
to the shift cables, like as
Yeah.
close attention as we were paying. We almost had a casualty of a shift cable, but we caught it. And just make sure that they're below the transmission bracket and don't get caught if you're ever doing.
But that bracket we discovered we had to put in before.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I
That
think
was minor.
No, not that bracket, a side bracket. It just got caught. But yeah,
Yeah.
another bracket. as
another
well.
bracket that we didn't put on
Yeah.
before we lowered
Cross
the
member.
car, the cross member. So I think we'll do a video of maybe some tips and tricks of not showing you how to do the engine drop, but just things that you should know and be aware of when you're doing an engine drop and reinstall. That could be very helpful, because I didn't hear any of those out of the things that we encountered in the videos that I've watched. So I think we can do something that's a little bit different to help people. A quick, easy kind of steer clear of these potential things. But yeah, the engine, this morning I came in early to fit the coolant lines, put the clutch line back in, the braces back in. We put the axle bolts back on. Now we've got the exhaust to throw on, and then just probably look around a little bit and make sure there's nothing
And
else.
remember to put oil back in.
We got the oil, and we got
Oil and brakes.
oil.
Because clutch. Or
No,
lead the
brakes
clutch.
brakes are fine.
Yeah, but the clutch and the brake
The
system are all
slave
the
zone. You
same.
got to bleed.
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to bleed
We'll have
the
to bleed
clutch,
the
but
clutch.
I'd probably also just crack open the brakes as well.
Yeah.
Since it's all connected, make sure.
Yeah. Well, we use the brakes to help hold the.
Yeah, but I was just holding. It's not, you got the motive, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But actually, I've got the one that you hook up to the air compressor and it just vacuums.
Yeah, that's something I'm not quite sure exactly how all cars are, but I know a lot of cars, the brake system and clutch system are, part of the same system, and that's definitely with our cars. So if you are doing any clutch bleeding or brake bleeding, I wouldn't go bleed the clutch if you're doing the brakes or anything, but I would just make sure if you're opening up and we lose as much fluid as we did, just to go back and make sure there's no bubbles in the brake lines.
Yeah, and the last, really the whole reason why we started all this is I put in the oil filter adapter for the IMS solution, and it tightened up into the proper location for the oil line, fitted the oil line to the adapter as well as to the input, I guess, for the oil into the IMS solution. So yeah, almost there. I just keep thinking back of so many of the things that we did, and I have this thing where I always got to do things twice, and I hate that about. I don't know. It's just my life. Like when I do things, I always have to do things twice, and I just hope this is not one of them. I really don't want to take it all apart twice, but you know what?
Yeah.
If I have to,
I think we're good.
It's
I think we're good.
What's the ETA on all this? And I have an ulterior motive for asking.
We knew this was coming.
No, I was just hoping. I was just hoping
This
the
is a
lift
once in
was
a
gonna be
decade.
free at some point this week.
But remember, we're packing this week. Just
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It should be
so-
on the road by the end of today.
No,
As long as
I would
maybe
think
not.
I would think probably buttoning most.
Plus, you want to fix
everything.
your little plastic brackets for the muffler. That
Yeah, I think it'll
Well,
be.
that's what I've got. One of the hangers or grommets on my exhaust is gone, and it's
yeah. So
well to
I
speak,
think
it's-
it'll be fired tomorrow.
Cool.
My goal. Is
So we're packing on Wednesday.
yeah.
What oil are you putting in?
What's that?
What oil?
I have
Driven.
driven
DT?
DT4. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think are you going to be able to come in tomorrow, or you got a break off?
I'm planning on staying home for e-break.
Okay.
But you guys need me, I can make it work.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, anyways, we've got some great video content coming for that whole adventure. We talked a little bit about Damon's Cayman in the shop for the rear diff, but it all worked out for him. But Rob's was on a pretty cool trip, and it's really about the future of Porsche, and they're banking a whole lot on it. I've seen the car. I saw it at South by Southwest. It's a beautiful ride.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I got to see 2 Macans at South by Southwest. The car itself looks wonderful, and I think it's gonna probably. I think people are already lining up to buy them. I don't know that you could even buy one now. You got to get on a list, right?
Well, I know that technically retail deliveries are starting, I think, in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So, and it's the only Macan, is we all know, that you can be able to buy in Europe at this point. They're already done with the ICE version of it. But yeah, there's a lot riding on this intro.
So can you tell us where you went?
It was in southern France, just outside of Nice.
Uh-huh.
And you know what, though? Honestly, it's not as glamorous as
Yeah, I know.
I've been in Nice. I've been in Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Not as glamour. No.
no, it's the traffic is terrible. I mean, the roads are great, but you've got to get through all the towns on the coast and a little bit of the A8, which is the superhighway, to get up in any of that stuff. And traffic is generally bad, and at least it wasn't tourist season we're doing it. But once you get to the good road,
a press trip is intense.
Yeah.
Like people that are, for those of you that are listening, it's an intense in and out.
Right. You leave on a Sunday in the afternoon. You get there at 6 or 7 in the morning. You get a couple of hours to rest or something if you want. Then there's a reveal and a press conference, and you drive after the press conference the same day that you flew in. The next day is an all-day drive, and then you fly home. So it's really, you don't really get any time to sightsee, be a tourist. It's pretty, it's pretty intense.
Were you paired up with someone?
Yes.
Okay.
I was with Ronan Glon from Autoblog.
Okay.
So who was, great person to drive with, had a really good time. And he lives in just outside of Marseille, so he knows the roads and the area really well. So, I mean, I won the co-driver lottery with him.
Nice. So what most impressed you with the Macan EV?
The chassis is really, really well sorted out. The acceleration is just absolutely brutal on the turbo and more than adequate on the Macan 4. But they quote about 3 seconds, 0 to 60 for the turbo. Somebody's certainly going to break the 3 second mark with it. They're 2.8 or 2.9 or
What about
something.
the 4? What's the acceleration on the 4?
4.8 or 4.9?
That is plenty fast.
It is.
Oh.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, but, the fact of the matter is, 10 years ago, hypercars, the 3 second, breaking the 3 second mark was like breaking the sound barrier in the late 1940s. It's like, it's theoretically possible, but,
Yeah.
And now here is, a crossover that will do it. It's really pretty amazing. But, I mean, you never really feel like the power is too much for the chassis. It's the rear wheel steer. You can certainly feel. What surprised me is, I chalked some of the nimbleness, of it, over the Cayenne to the fact that it's got a shorter wheelbase. Mm-hmm. I actually looked at it. The wheelbase is shorter, but it's like by a millimeter or two.
Then a Cayenne?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Than a 2024
But it
Cayenne.
also has a rear wheel steering, which
Yes.
the
Yeah.
ICE Macan did not have.
Right. And
On both models or only the turbo?
I think that it's available on both. It's not. I don't think it's standard on the Macan.
That makes a
4
big difference
to check,
in
but it really does. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of the feeling of nimbleness and also driving. Around. Not surprisingly, the streets are narrow in Nice and Antibes and all those places in the south of France that we're driving. And, it makes a difference in the turning radius, but the steering's fantastic. I mean, it seems like with every successive generation of electric power steering with Porsche, it seems to get just a little bit better. I thought it was great. I think the ratio is actually about 15% quicker than the Ice Macan. So, that enhances the feeling of nimbleness along with the rear wheel steer. So it's great. Ronan and I were of different opinions in terms of the artificial, the sport sound. I thought it was kind of cool. He hated it. So.
It's not artificial. It's just amplified.
Yeah.
So it amplifies the electric motors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool. I liked it.
The wah 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 kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it sounds exactly like that.
It
But
would be good if it sounded like that. Charlie Brown's teacher sound.
But did you miss having an audible
Yes.
ice?
Yeah, I think,
That's what's weird. Like,
yeah.
I've driven the Taycan Turbo S and such. I don't know. Maybe I just get into it with a different mindset. Like, I don't miss the sound. Like, I enjoy how quiet the Taycan is, and when it's so quiet, the chassis has to be that much better because you'll hear twitches and all that kind of stuff. So the car has to be drum tight.
Yeah, I just think about the last Macan GTS that I drove.
Yeah.
And, the noise that makes. And so, yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said I didn't miss it a little bit. But
it's not a cone of silence, and that's what I try to tell people. You're hearing tire noise, you're hearing wind noise, you hear all the stuff that's going on outside. It's not a Rolls Royce, it's not triple insulated glass that's just shutting everything up from the outside. You hear all this stuff, and even a nice engine, once you get to 70, 80, you're not going to hear the motor anymore. You're hearing all the stuff you're hearing in an electric car, just the wind noise and
there's tire noise and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you don't have the startup. The startup's sexy on an ice car.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, the only things that are somewhat concerning is the fact that it's really, really expensive now. It's, I think, $16,000 to $18,000 more expensive than the outgoing ICE car.
Yeah.
And even the base model, is very, very easy to option to over six figures. And that's, that's a lot of money.
Can I ask the interior, did they bring back buttons or is everything on the menu screen?
there are buttons, if I remember right.
There are some, yeah. It's got the as has been their custom lately, the glass panel and the console.
There's usually like a set of buttons under.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
computer
There are
center
some buttons.
console.
Yeah. So, yeah. Though altogether,
This is
very
tough
well
for
done.
you.
I wasn't
This
really
is tough for you because you're a manual, kind of low horsepower car.
Well, there's
lover,
something
right?
really intoxicating about a car that'll go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. That was amazing. I mean, I was answering an email actually from Manny as we're leaving a toll booth, and I'm obviously in the right seat and Ronan is driving, and I wasn't paying attention to the fact that we're leaving a toll booth and there's nobody on the right, nobody on the left.
Yeah.
So he's going to hammer it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of leaning over just a little bit to look at the screen of my phone, and he just gets on it, and like the length of time that it took for my lumbar spine to hit the seat back was instantaneous, and it actually kind of hurt. I mean, it's just really, really vivid acceleration, so it's fun.
So tossing it on the back roads and stuff, having that sort of point and shoot ability with the throttle.
It's great. It really is. I mean, the only thing, again, that you're mindful of, it's not like, even, if like Laurelis grade in Carmel.
Yeah.
Roads are a lot like that, not much like guardrails, but even that is like a half a lane wider than a lot of the roads that were on there. So, your fun is kind of tempered by the fact that there's a blind corner. You're on a road that's basically a lane and a half wide, and there could be like a Renault Twingo coming around, the other side. So,
How about the weight?
You're really not particularly mindful of it. They've done a really good job of making the car feel very nimble, very tossable. As they've done with, the Taycan, the Cayenne. They do a good job of masking that mass. And again, the weight is carried, very, very. The center of gravity is very low, so it's in the battery pack. It's low, so if you're gonna have, over 2 tons of mass, it's at least carrying it in the right place.
Yeah. And did you play around with the regen and the braking and?
Yeah, a little bit. It's Porsche is very obviously dead set on having you use two pedals. They're not fans of
One pedal driving.
One pedal driving. And there were times where I think I passed around the Kia Niro rental that I had. At least Damon drove the last time.
Very
And
good car.
Yeah, it's a really good car. And there's an N version of that I think is legitimately going to be, some competition for this car, which would be kind of interesting. But the paddles were kind of nice. I mean, you really could get the feeling of kind of traditional engine braking with them. And, there were times that I'm like doing this, like wanting them to be there when we're driving on some of these roads where I'd like to get, a little engine braking. And, obviously that's not Porsche's thing. So,
Unless you get the Turbo GT.
right.
That has the paddles.
Yeah,
Right.
but those paddles, if I remember correctly, that's more for boosting rather than making the regen feel like engine braking.
No, I think the left-hand paddle is for regen,
engine?
and the right
Okay.
is for the
So they do it, just they don't go to one pedal. Like if you get off the throttle in the Turbo GT, it's not going to stop the.
You can adjust the level of regen.
Yeah.
With the
Okay.
the left-hand paddle.
There was also the
Maybe
boat.
they should do that then.
There was also a boat.
A Porsche boat?
Yeah, well, it's a joint venture with an Austrian boat manufacturer. I'm going to butcher the name. I think it's Frauscher,
Okay.
and the boat is called the Phantom, I think 850, but it utilizes basically the powertrain of the Macan EV, and it's very, very cool. The Porsche Sport steering wheel and gorgeous boat,
Electric boat.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, like let's go fishing, put an electrical charge through the water, and
I was thinking about range anxiety, which takes a whole new level.
yeah, no kidding. But
Not as bad as a plane, but
or salt water and batteries, that
what could
that's,
go wrong?
At least in every U-boat movie I ever saw, that was a bad thing. But no, it was really cool. I mean, same sort of instant acceleration. It's beautifully made.
Oh, they give you a ride in the boat?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Let me drive the boat.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a boat person at all, but I mean, I really, it was
The
interesting.
best boat is using someone else's boat.
Right.
I'm imagining Rob in like Sperry's with like a sailor collar and.
No, but
I thought you were going to say you went to the front of the boat and said, I'm king of the world.
yeah, I was not Spalding Smales on the boat. But it was really, really cool. It was 560,000 euros.
That's a deal.
That's not
I
bad.
don't know. That sounds reasonable for a boat.
I just have to sell 4 of my houses for it.
But this is not a yacht. This is like
A
I don't
sport
know,
boat.
it's-
Well, you're not going to get a yacht for $500,000.
Yeah.
We're gonna say it's the yacht or it's the sport boat that like goes into the yacht. storage
right,
area or
exactly.
something.
This is like the Bond villain's yacht is going to have this thing in it. But it was beautiful. They do this basically their take on exclusive manufacturer. You can spec the boat, in an infinite number of ways, and it's very cool.
So hopefully we will see the Macan Electric at Parade. I'm hoping we'll get a few examples there. I'd love to take a ride in one. I think the marketing fleet will probably come right around summertime.
Yeah, hopefully in some
Yeah,
of the
well, there will
colors.
be one there because
Oh, we're doing a
I was going to say my Tech Tactics has one. We have a Macan EV walk around scheduled.
Yeah.
And they're going to move it from the lobby to the Tech Tactics room on that day.
Perfect.
One thing that was a surprise is I did hear, I won't identify the person, for fear of consequences, but I did hear someone from PAG refer to the front trunk as a frunk, and I thought that word was not in
really?
favor. Yeah.
Really? I never thought that was a
I,
negative word.
yeah, for some reason I thought it was a...
I say it all the time.
Does that mean something in German that's not good?
I don't know.
Frunk
It
sounds less formal, than front trunk.
I always say frunk.
Okay.
Interesting.
This is time
Anyway,
for a Google
but
Translate.
it's not all that useful. There's enough room basically for a duffel bag and charging stuff.
Any other hints of next vehicles, like a 7-passenger one?
We keep seeing the spy photos,
Yeah.
and my last column was on, is this a bridge too far? So we'll see.
The market will speak.
Yes, it
The
will.
market will speak.
Well, you know how it's going to speak. They'll be gobbled up. I mean,
Yeah.
if they build it, people will buy it. But
All right, so let's go. I want to make sure we mention our PCA newsletters. If you're not receiving e-brake news, performance news, and Mart Fresh news, head over to pca.org and get signed up, and we'll send it to your inbox on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. PCA videos, over to you, Damon.
Yes, so videos. I'm currently working on a 993 Carrera RS Club Sport video that we shot with TPC Racing, and they had a pretty cool Club Sport in that we believe has the the motor sound package, which seems like a funny combination for basically a race car to have an extra thing, on it. But that video should be live by the time you're listening or watching this podcast. I'm not sure if it'll be an e-brake on Tuesday, but definitely for Tuesday, we're also going to have a Tech Tactics or a video we filmed at Tech Tactics East with our friend Rolf, who is one of the he's the technician trainer, the lead trainer, I think.
Yes, he trains the technicians, dealers. He's a
Yeah.
phenomenal instructor and
He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah,
so.
people always make sure they sit in on his session because he makes it very interactive and he has great info.
Yeah.
Especially this one that Dame was talking about.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff. It's called you didn't know your Porsche did this or something, or did you know your Porsche did this? And basically, it goes some of it's the owner's manual, stuff that you may not realize your Porsche does if you've never picked up the owner's manual, as well as reasons for other things as simple as like why the fuel filler is located where it's at. And it's a whole slew of things he goes over. And I think most people are going to find some interesting info about their car that may not have known.
Yeah, he always pulls a great
Does his unique sense of humor come through?
Yeah,
They came
All right,
from
that's good.
last year. We had a discussion, and I don't think it was part of the formal presentation. We were just in between sessions, and that's the great thing about Tech Tactics. When you're there, is we were just BSing with them, and we were talking about something with the plugging into the tow hitch, what it does to the car.
Oh, yeah.
And he went to tell us about how one technician, when he saw the schematics, they were going their schematics, he would like a big aha moment, and he realized that when you plug in to the you plug something into it, and I think this one had like a third brake plate or something,
Yeah.
but it was plugged in, so the car thought it was towing something.
It was in tow
So
mode.
it changed it went into tow mode exactly, and so the person who brought the car in, as Rolf puts it, is one of the few people in the country who wanted the auto stop to work.
Yeah.
And the auto stop wasn't working. And so they started going through why the auto stop wasn't working. Could not figure it out. And it was because when it's plugged to a trailer, the auto stop disengages.
Yeah.
So this guy had this thing plugged in the whole time, and the auto stop would not work. But anyway, this little stuff like that, stories that they find out, and it's a good watch.
Yep. And those are the two main videos right now. I think we played a lot of catch up last week with recent videos.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the news. And I hear there's some updates for the Cayenne crowd.
Did you get anything on this, Rob? The new updates for the Cayenne?
Did I? Is in
I'm guessing you did not.
All I know is I remember.
So I
the
got
V8
this
motor.
email, but I just read it because of the podcast.
oh.
But yeah, optional
Just-
equipment's now standard.
I looked at the date because sometimes Google Alerts, I learned, I don't know what their formula is for pulling news, but one of the items was like 3 years old. And I'm reading this, I'm like, did they just do this over again? And then I started look at the date. So now whenever I get a Google alert, I look at the date. And this
You
was
verify
this
it.
was last week. The new GTS coming out in both coupe and the regular body. It's going to have the 493 horsepower twin turbo V8, and being a GTS model is going to be filled with a lot of standard features that normally would be optional. So I think that's going to, like we always say, it's going to sell out very quickly.
You know what's funny about that is, so I don't think I received the email. I mean, the newsroom thing here is May 17th. E-brake, the last one that I edited was on May 14th, and there was all sorts of Cayenne GTS news out there, but there was nothing on. I didn't receive an email. There was nothing in newsroom, so I'm wondering if that kind of maybe got out, and then newsroom had to play catch up a little bit.
So here's the thing. I don't know that many people have talked about this, but the days are numbered for the Cayenne as well for the ICE engine, right? And this is one of the last V8 Cayennes.
Yeah, because they brought the V8 back for the S, I think, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, and I love the V8, the sound of the GTS V8.
Yeah, when Porsche starts bringing back the engines that we want, that's when
cool.
you know they're about to kill the car off.
One of the last great ones.
Yeah.
It might become.
That's like they say, the engine's about to go when it's running its best.
Yeah.
I remember Pete Trump would always get nervous because he'd come in from a session and it's going, car's really running better it's ever ran.
Uh-oh.
I feel like it has more horsepower. We'd all say, that means the engine's ready to go.
Seriously? That's a thing?
Well,
Yeah,
that
because
was-
carbon buildup and all that stuff actually increases the compression ratio. Or in Vu's case, the cam chain tensioner pads being worn out actually increased his horsepower, but at the expense of mid-range torque. So his car was actually making more power before we did all that work.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's like the...
That's something to think about when you're driving 12 hours back home.
Wow, okay, it's like the bad cop buddy movie. When the
actually...
full veteran cop's about to retire,
Yeah.
you know he's going to die.
What's funny is Charles Navarro was also saying that cars with bore scoring, and this is the best example of this, is that they're eating so much oil and it gets carbonized on the pistons and around all that stuff, is that a car with bore scoring actually is faster because its compression
I was
ratio
going
is
to say, it's more compression.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So it runs better and then
Until it doesn't?
until it doesn't.
Yeah.
One more thing for you to think about as you drive home, Rob.
He drove a TBR. He does. Well, we talked before the show started. He does not have a lot of worry.
It was kind of funny and you did drive the TVR a lot, but I do remember when you first got it and it was here.
Oh, yeah, I do, too.
We had a coolant leak because one of the belts was cutting into the...
As soon as I walked outside, I
rubber
saw
coolant hoses.
and I thought, that can't be Rob's car. And sure enough, we looked in, and
cut a nice clean slit. in the hose.
Yeah, you know.
Well, we
That's TVR ownership.
We were making
so.
fun of Rob because he's thinned the herd quite a bit, and now we're taking bets of what's his next car. It was almost a 914, and now we're almost going to be maybe a Cayman S, but maybe not a Cayman because you need the two little rear seats. So what's next for Rob's? Any guesses?
I don't know. He went from a 914 to now he's looking at Caymans, and he loves that. I don't know.
I think his next
It's
car,
almost
I
like
think
we
his
need a
next car
roulette
is gonna-
wheel.
I think his next car is going to be a quirky non-Porsche.
Or a quirky Porsche. We were talking about 944 S2 cabs earlier. They're
Yeah.
quirky.
Yeah, they are.
You don't have a cabriolet, and summer's coming. Oh, yeah, that's certainly possible for Rob.
So they are pretty cool, 944 S2 cabs. It's not really my kind of car, but I wish there were parts of the S2 cab that were part of the coupe. The main thing being is that they lowered the windshield, and I think sloped it more, which is just such a cool
It almost
look.
has a speedster look.
It
to it.
does. It does.
Especially the top up.
Yeah.
Right.
The way the
That's-
bows are.
Right. That's what I like about the car, honestly, is the way it looks with the top up, the windshield slope. I will tell you that at a museum drive about a year ago, they had a 944 turbo cab, and it was kind of underwhelming. There was a fair bit of cowl shake in the car, and that's one thing that, if you're 25 or 30, you've never really felt good, turbo lag, torque steer, or cowl shake. And this is really, it's there for sure.
Yeah, but it's it's a touring car.
But
Yeah.
you forgot about all that, and now you went back to wanting a car.
I just think they're quirky and they're good looking, and I do like the powertrain. I do like
Amazing.
the liter.
engines. Yeah, the 3-liter. It's one of the coolest engines.
You'll
think
never
ever
see
built.
anything like it again.
All right, next news item we have Porsche set to abandon updated.
This is kind of funny. If you're a regular listener, we talked about how at the beginning of the season, how Porsche had a crankshift in the wings.
Yeah.
And the only reason they hadn't used it yet was they have to change all the cars running 963, including customer cars, all have to upgrade to this new camshaft, not just the factory cars or just one of the factory cars. And they didn't have enough camshafts or crankshafts at the time to do this. But in between waiting for more crankshafts, they suddenly realized they found the formula, I guess, that our engines are running great. We're winning races. We're doing really well. And They say they may just chuck it. They may not even use it. Of course, I guess the Le Mans will be the telltale sign.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing what any good racer does, and you leave everything alone. If it's running fine, we're not going to mess with anything. So at least to the Le Mans, which is coming up in June, they are not going to use it. Crankshaft is still on the shelf and may be scrapped.
Yeah, if it's working, don't touch it.
Yeah, it's an interesting on the way to the forum, right?
This next news item is pretty cool, and we can probably impart some wisdom for our listeners. For those of you that want to head over to Stuttgart and visit the museum, we've got some insider tips. But the news part of it is 6 million visitors to date.
6 million visitors.
Wow.
And, we get called a lot in the office about if there's any discounts. And they do give a small discount to club members.
Right. Bring
any
your
Porsche club.
membership card and show it when you buy your ticket. I think
That
it's either
does not including a discount at the gift shop.
No, it doesn't.
Unfortunately.
I wish it did, but it does not.
They probably wouldn't make money if they did that.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing, too, about the gift shop is Vu's secret, gift shop hack, which was to go across the street to the dealership, to there, which very often had different, sometimes better
different items.
Yeah.
But that dealership no longer exists
I was
there.
going to say, that's not a dealership anymore.
It's been swallowed into the larger factory plans.
Yeah,
if I
so
remember.
just real quickly, for those of you that might find yourself in Stuttgart and want to visit the museum, it's open every day except Mondays. So make sure you plan accordingly to go to the museum. It's just open. You get your ticket. You go up the escalators, and you can spend hours there. No reservations needed. For factory tours, you definitely need reservations. I think almost 2 to 3.
They are sold out for the whole year.
Oh, sold out. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. If you go to their website, it says, unfortunately, for 2024, they are sold out. I've heard that if you go the same day and you ask to be on the wait list, if they have any cancellations, sometimes they do, and they'll slide you in. You also have to remember that not every tour is in English.
Right.
So there's other language tours that they do, so you also have to get one in the language you want to hear the tour in. But I tell people who go to the museum for the first time, I say go down to the first level of the parking garage, because that's where they stage cars that are coming into the museum, and it is the freakiest thing to pull into the first level of the parking garage and see a 917 in a parking spot. Mm-hmm. Just not 2 parking spots, just one.
Yep.
You got your big modern car parked next to this tiny 917, and you're like blown away because you're like, well, I recognize that car. And they're just waiting to be able to take them upstairs into the museum.
Right. And if Porsche can park a 917 in one spot, piece of advice to the new Challenger owner, you can park yours in one spot too.
Oh, did you just do it?
No, I'm pretty sure BMW.
I thought he was
owner.
going to say BMW there.
Wow. All right. Hate mail goes to his
Oh, come on. There are no Mopar people listening to this. That was like the safest dig.
Safest dig, absolutely.
Ever.
Chris Jacobs thought it was Rob Sass, our editor.
Yeah, exactly. You'll also, I always tell people, of course, the Porsche Museum, you want to get there. And it's unlike many other museums in the sense where the vehicles or the display items, they're not barricaded off. There's no separation between you and the vehicles, and everyone is very respectful of everything that's on display. But it's so cool how close you can get to everything. But don't just plan on going to the Porsche Museum. Not too far down the street is also the Mercedes Museum. And even if you're not a huge Mercedes fan, what I love about that museum, one, it's gorgeous, but 2, it talks about the automotive industry in Germany, in Stuttgart, and you get a much broader picture of...
it's a lot bigger than the
it's a lot
Porsche
bigger.
Museum.
You can also spend hours there. So with just those 2 museums and a day or 2 in Stuttgart, like
So
your day is
Museum
filled.
came out after the Porsche Museum, I remember. The remodel.
The remodel, yes.
Because I remember hearing a story that they were well into the planning stages, and then they saw the Porsche Museum, and they basically went back and said, back to the drawing board. We got to up our game. It's a lot different than what we thought what the Porsche was going to do. So the neat thing about the Porsche Museum, they literally built it on a employee parking lot at the time. And so if you look at it, it's almost like a mushroom because it goes out. It's a really architecturally an amazing building. But you can also get a guided tour if you reserve it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not a Porsche fanatic, and I always say this when I go places, even like American Cars, the collection we saw last week, I said, I wish we had a guide to tell me about some of these cars I'm not familiar with, because I know they're special, but I don't know what the story is behind them. Brass era cars and what like that. So if you're not a diehard Porsche enthusiast, they will have a guided tour that will tell you which cars are.
And a lot of times, as you're walking around, you'll see these tours happening. Just kind of stand next to them. And that's what I do. If I don't know that car, like at the Mercedes Museum.
Moose hack.
Yeah, Moose hack is just stand next to them and listen to what they're saying. So,
Yeah, for a Vietnamese tour, so you can just blend in.
hey, the more languages you know, the higher the probability you get on a tour. All right. So a few months ago, all over viral news was when Tesla, the Cybertruck towing a Porsche, made a statement saying that it beat a Porsche, and that scenario towing, yeah. So that scenario is back on the web, but this time there's a little bit more truth to it.
It's a Motor Trend and Engineering Explained.
Yeah.
Did a great job of recreating exactly to a T. Tesla said they did this test, and they did it because originally the big brouhaha was it wasn't a quarter-mile track. It was an eighth-mile track.
It was.
But they got the same car, everything to a T. They replicated, and including how the car was placed on the trailer, where normally you may put a 911, back it up. They didn't do it. They just drove it up, so all the weights in the rear instead of the tongue weight. And they proved that it didn't happen. There's no way. But it's very good. Engineer Explained is a great website, and he really breaks it down.
YouTube channel.
Or YouTube channel, excuse me, where he breaks it down into
He
how
nerds
this is
out. It's
impossible.
pretty crazy, the level of nerdiness.
Every 5 or 6 runs they did, every time it was...
Yeah, so he, months ago when that commercial first came out, he used math to prove his hypothesis that it wasn't, that the Tesla probably wouldn't win, or, test out that hypothesis. And I think he said he got within...
Oh, real close.
What's it, 10th, 100th, 100th, 500ths of a second?
Wow.
With his estimation of the Tesla's fastest run with the Carrera T on the back. And so, yeah, what this video was doing was just putting into practice what he had already figured out with his math. But yeah, it's possible for the Cybertruck towing a 911 to win, but it's very unlikely. There would have to be some circumstances or weather or something,
So how does one manufacturer get away with making such a bold statement of another manufacturer? Does that land you, Mr. Attorney, I'm looking at you, does that land somewhere in defamation or false advertising?
I would say false advertising, not being a lawyer. Yeah.
Well, obviously...
No, give us a 5-minute disclaimer that you're not a practicing lawyer.
Porsche's going to
Yes,
go.
I was gonna launch into that. I haven't had a license anywhere in 12 or 13 years, but in general, the Federal Trade Commission looks kind of not very positively on anything that is essentially a false advertising claim.
If you asked me, that's towing the line real hard. What Tesla did.
Yeah.
Well, which I can't believe that Elon Musk would
Right.
would walk up to any line, let alone cross it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant in a way, right? It's brilliant in a way because it got so much, airtime. People
We're talking about it.
it. Got people so engaged that they wanted to test the scenario and to prove them wrong. But I still think it's not right.
It would have been impressive just the Cybertruck by itself.
Yeah.
How heavy and big it is to beat the 911.
Yeah.
But I guess he felt like he thought he was going to rub it in by saying.
Let's say this too, though. It's impressive that the Cybertruck did basically, I think it was a 12.8 down the quarter mile with the Carrera T, and against the Carrera T, it did a 12.3. I think it was very within a second.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Sure. What's the Cybertruck do just by itself?
I don't know off the top of my head, quarter mile wise, but you got to think that it's probably in the 10-11 second range.
It's almost like a question that no one really asked.
Yeah. They would have been. I mean, also in the 8th mile, I think from what all their testing was showing is that in the 8th mile, a Cybertruck towing a Carrera T will be to Query but
Yeah, you see it in the video. It pulls out the eighth mile, but then I guess
just
aerodynamics and whatnot take place in
it was impressive. So why did they have to take it that far? Who knows?
Because we're not talking about it.
The video is a good watch, and I would just watch the whole video. Don't fast forward to the end.
Yeah.
Just what, because his explanation and why, and that it couldn't happen is very good.
Speaking of watching, if you're listening to us on May 27th or listening to us early on May 28th, I want to remind you that Porsche will be debuting the 992.2 at 9 a.m. Eastern. They'll be debuting it on YouTube, LinkedIn, and of course you can always go to Porsche.com.
And if you're on PCA.org, you'll be able to find a page with that embedded as well.
All right. I'll also take this time. If you're enjoying the podcast, any of our videos, we really appreciate the likes. We chuckle at the comments. We do read them. And of course, we look forward and appreciate any one that subscribes to the channel and gets us closer to that 100K mark. Let's move into events. We've got Porsche Parade coming June 9th through 15th. I think we're going to have Melanie on for our next podcast to talk about the details of Parade.
Our events manager.
How are we there already? It seems like phase 1 of registration just opened yesterday.
The year is just flying by.
It's scary.
Yep. By the time you listen to this, registration will have been open for Works Reunion Monterey, which is August 16th. So look forward to seeing some of you at Monterey Pines Golf Club, and we are going to have a fantastic event. Next, we have Treffin Mount Washington. That event is Sunday, September 29th through October 3rd. Registration opens May 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern. We've said it before and we'll say it again. If you want to go to Mount Washington, if you want to get into a Treffin, you need to read through all of the different options for Treffin. Make those decisions early. And when the clock tells you that you're in the registration system, get in, get paid, get out as soon as possible to secure your spot.
Yeah, don't even wait 5 minutes. Be ready when registration opens.
We've had
Olympic trials.
Yeah.
We're like checking into Southwest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you delay, you'll be in the C-boarding room.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. For those of you that want to try your hand at sim racing, PCASimRacing.com, race against other PCA members, try your hand without spending or doing too much wear and tear on your own car. You can do it all digitally at PCASimRacing.com.
Was it insane that Max Verstappen did a 24-hour sim racing the night before the Grand Prix of Imola?
He's a machine.
Wow.
He's a machine.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And he wins, of course,
And he wins.
in the real race. I don't know how he did in the sim race, but
Yeah.
it's insane.
True enthusiasts, right? Yeah, exactly. Treffin at Sea, we are heading to Alaska. We've got well over 800 members, and I think there are still a few rooms available. I think a few, what do they call, balcony rooms opened up. Some people didn't confirm. So if you're looking to check off that bucket list, heading over to Alaska, we'd love to see you there. Want to bring up the PCA web store where we have insider T-shirts, mugs, and water bottles. And of course, if you're looking for a PCA insider decal for your car or toolbox, just send an email to podcast@pca.org and we'll send you a set.
And if you ask for a sticker and didn't get it, ask us again, because we don't send them out. It's member services that sends it out.
Yep, exactly. So anything else before we wrap this up, gentlemen?
I see Rob looking at classifieds over my shoulder. No, I'm just peering over.
He
So
can't
yeah,
hear me,
it's
man.
not even going to be 90 days.
You can't even get through a podcast without looking for a car. Well, folks, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN and head over to PCA.org and join the club. Now, if you're looking for your car, we'd love to open up a lot of resources to you. You can join the test drive program, again, at PCA.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And if you'd like to send us a message, again, podcast@pca.org. And don't forget, make sure to stay in touch with all things PCA, subscribing to our free newsletters, again, at pca.org. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.